Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow dregs to society. Welcome for those of you who Joe Biden says live under a rock, but welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host, as she does a couple of times a week, is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada, and that's Sharon Angle. Sharon, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, Rick. It's great to be with you today.
Great to have you with me, my friend. And Sharon, the nation is gripped in a polar vortex, the likes of which has never been recorded before.
Well, you know, I was just reading that Chicago has 60 below 10. Well, actually, Minneapolis, 60 below zero. And they're predicting, frostbite in minutes. You just can't go out in it. But, it gets crazy. The police are reporting that people are being robbed at gunpoint of their down jackets.
So, Sharon, we don't have a gun problem. We don't have a violence problem. We don't have a criminal problem. But we have a problem of there's not enough winter coats. I would love to know what these global warming alarmists are saying. Is this what they want? Is this really what they want? You know what I say, Sharon? I say bring on global warming. I mean,
please.
Gosh, please. I bet the people in Chicago, I bet those people in Indianapolis are suffering 60 below wind chill. Those people in Chicago who've had their winter coats stolen from them, I bet they would like to or they would like to see the onset of global warming. I don't know. I just can't comprehend. I just can't comprehend being that cold, Sharon Angle.
I can't either. And, we've talked on several of our episodes here on Conservative Commandos radio show with climatologists that have really talked about the little ice age and how that was so devastating to worldwide climate and the people's health at the time and the ability to produce food. And so when you talk about coming out of that little ice age, and really it only ended around the 1800s, it started to get warmer again. So it really has lasted a long time. And so we're really just coming out of that little ice age still. And now we've got what looks like is a hiccup in the coming out. But of course, the greenies, they want to call it global warming. Oh, my goodness. Let's get back to what probably is normal for the Earth. This slowdown in warming is really difficult for us, and we don't really need it that cool
who's to say what normal
prosperous.
is? Sharon,
right.
Sharon, who's to say what normal is? And I've mentioned this before here on Conservative Commandos. In the last 100,000 years, we have had 4 major ice ages where North America was covered in a polar ice cap, if you will, all the way down to Princeton, New Jersey. In some places, that ice cap was over 2 miles thick. So who's to know what normal is? I just think that the evolution of the Earth changes. The Earth changes. The climate changes. Temperatures change.
Well, I'm only interested in the last few hundred years, Rick. When they talk about having vineyards in Nova Scotia and on Greenland and things like that, I kind of like that. I kind of like that idea that there's more productive land for people to live on, and that was before the little ice age. So I'm thinking that's normal. That's the normal that I would like.
Maybe that's normal that you would like, but Earth has its own plans. Earth has its own plans.
Well, certainly God is in control of the climate, isn't he?
Yeah. And Sharon, there's some news coming out of Venezuela.
That's right. It's quick news. News that's right up to date right now. President Trump is talking about sanctions against Venezuela, which I think is about time. My concern, of course, is that if we sanction Venezuela, are we also going to stop foreign aid to that country? Because as all Americans know, we are the most generous nation in the world, and we do send foreign aid even to our enemies.
I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. And this is pressure on President Maduro in Venezuela. And there's rioting in the streets in Venezuela. People can't find food. And Sharon, what this points to is this points to what happens when you have a prosperous country like Venezuela was. There was a time that Venezuela was the third most prosperous country in the Western Hemisphere. This is what happens, Sharon Engel, when something called socialism creeps into a society. And for all of those out there who think that socialism is such a great idea and it needs to be tried here, well, just look what is happening in Venezuela. Venezuela is not the first nor the only example do we have of what happens during socialism, but it is the latest. It is the latest.
Well, we can look to Western Europe and France. Macron is having his issues too because, again, he's embracing the socialist agenda, which is back to our first topic, which was the greenies. You know, these guys with their climate change and their climate accords, thankfully, our president has opted out of, but Macron has pushed forward with it, and now he's got rioting in the streets because their gas prices have just gone through the roof over this carbon tax.
Well, and you got people like Ocasio-Cortez who wants carbon taxes in this country with this Green New Deal, as she's calling it. It's green. She calls it a Green New Deal. I call it a black bad idea, a really bad idea, that it will do nothing. It will achieve nothing except for making people's lives miserable. You know, I read an article that in Germany, their electricity prices have increased like 400%. Because of these, it's not happening only in France, Sharon. It's happening in Germany, too. And this is what they want to happen here in the United States. These people are nuts, Sharon. Not only are these people nuts who are proposing these ideas, people who support these ideas are also nuts. Let's call it what it is. They are crazy, Sharon Engel.
Well, their agenda has been so pushed in our education system that now we have a whole generation that's embracing socialism over liberty, over democracy, over a free nation. And, it just always is frightening to me, I guess, when I look at this millennial generation and the statistics of how many of them think socialism is okay. It's just, it's a better way of life, I guess, than under our Constitution. And of course, if you look at the things that the UN has been doing, they've got a Great Earth Order. I can't remember exactly what they call this, but it's a constitution for the UN, which is to replace any other constitutions in the world. So this whole globalist idea is they have to have some form of government that can control the masses, and that's what socialism does. You do everything for the people. They can't do anything for themselves. They're dependent upon the government. Now the government can go whatever direction it likes to go or wishes to go, and the globalists, of course, want it to go all their way.
And again, we've got this. It's a horrible example, but it is a typical example of what socialism is like when you live under it. Venezuela being the latest example. These people that want socialism, I wish they would move to Venezuela. I wish they would move to Cuba. I wish they would move to to China or Russia, places that where socialism and communism has been tried and is so rampant. It's a failure, Sharon. It has always been a failure. Will always be a failure, no matter who tries it, who thinks they can perfect it. Sharon, it is a formula to fail. When you want to take, and here we go again, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez pushing this idea of a 70% tax, a 70% tax. So let's take 70% of what the workers are producing and give to the non-workers, the leeches of society, the people who sit on their butts, get fat, make babies, produce nothing other than more mouths to feed, that they don't have to feed, that they don't have to support. Oh, what an idea this is, Sharon.
Well, I want to give a little plug for our newest and latest addition to our Conservative Commandos, and that's Bobby Eberle. When I was putting the additions onto our show last week, I was listening to some of his show. He had an amazing little expose that he did on Ocasio-Cortez, and you can hear her saying these things from her own lips. We've always said she's the gift that keeps on giving, and of course, Bobby Eberle is really going to camp out there for a while. So if you go back to our archives, which are on conservativecommandosradioshow.com, you can listen to that show and watch that show, the television edition of that show, and really get a glimpse of this Ocasio-Cortez and how she thinks, what makes her mind go. And I honestly, it's difficult to track her. It's hard to follow her rationale. In fact, it is irrational. There are no facts here, total feelings. Things like she said in one of the clips that I watched that she thinks that it should be against the law to be a billionaire when people are starving in this country.
Oh, Sharon, maybe we got to take a break, but maybe we can get into this after the break. Roy Beck from Numbers USA put on a presentation some time ago, and we'll talk about it after the break, Sharon. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Sharon and I will be right back with our guest list.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. price. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And Sharon, we've got three great guests joining us once again today.
Yes, we do. Our first guest is Tyler O'Neill, who is the assistant editor of PJ Media and conservative commentator. He has written for numerous publications, including the Christian Post, National Review, Washington Free Beacon, the Daily Signal, AEI's Values and Capitalism, and the Colson Center's Breakpoint. He enjoys Italian food, board games, and talking ceaselessly about politics, religion, and culture. So we'll have fun with Tyler. He's written an article, Supreme Court Sends High School Coach Prayer Case Back to Trial for Round 2. This is what happens when you get a Judge Kavanaugh and a Judge Gorsuch. They start to look into these First Amendment rights that folks have even in school. So I'm delighted to have Tyler talking about this. Our second guest is Kent Lassman, who is the president and CEO at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Lassman oversees strategy for the free market organization, including management of a team of policy, communications, and fundraising staff. We could use his help. Yes. Prior to joining CEI, Lassman spent 8 years as vice president of the public affairs firm in Washington, D.C., counseling clients on campaign approaches to issues ranging from telecommunications to privacy to biotechnology and state licensure. And he's coming on to talk with us about the Competitive Enterprise Institute calls on NBC and Chuck Todd to stop denying the debate over climate change. NBC rejects CEI's attempt to paste television ad on last Sunday's Meet the Press. So we're going to get back right into this green thing. There isn't a day that passes that climate change isn't in the news and causing or wreaking havoc across our country. Well, not only
that, the denial from NBC that there is another side to this.
Yeah.
That we have an opinion that is different from theirs, and so they don't want to air it. And, hey, it's their network. I could understand that. But if you're going to have a fair and honest debate, you want to hear a little bit from the other side. Well, actually, that's what the Conservative Commandos radio show is. We are the other side of the debate.
And we'll be airing that ad so that our listeners can make their minds up for themselves. That's the whole point, right?
Yep.
You decide. We present the facts. You decide. And our last guest is David Harsanyi is a senior editor at The Federalist, a nationally syndicated columnist and author of The People Have Spoken and They Are Wrong, The Case Against Democracy. And his latest book is First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun. David's work has appeared in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Weekly Standard, National Review, Reason, New York Post, and numerous other publications. And he's appeared on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NPR, ABC World News Tonight, NBC Nightly News, and dozens of talk shows across the country. David is going to be speaking to us about the Democratic Party's holy war on Christian orthodoxy. It's not just the Democrats that hate Christians, but the UN hates Christians. It's getting to be a pastime, a world pastime, and we Christians need to wake up to the fact that persecution is just around the corner, it seems.
All right. So, with David Harsanyi and also with Tyler O'Neill talking about the religious freedoms issues. As you say, Christianity is under attack like no other. Wouldn't happen if Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, only Christians. They're the only allowable bigotry is in the world anymore is against Christians. So again, we got three great guests. And I wanted to, Sharon, before the break, we were talking about socialism and how it doesn't work and how you have these nuts like Ocasio-Cortez. I'm going to put on our website a presentation that was done by Roy Beck of Numbers USA to demonstrate how there is no way the United States can end poverty. And he uses the examples of gumballs. And he uses these gumballs as saying each gumball represents 1 million people. 1 million people. And he said that, and again, please watch this. This will be on our website. There are almost a billion people in the world that make less than $2 a day. Less than $2 a day. And so the United States might take in 1 million of that billion. What difference does it make? He says we cannot make a difference in these people's lives. We cannot make a difference in poverty by letting even 1 million people a year come in here. What has to happen is things have to get better in the countries that they live in. That's how you end poverty. It's a terrific demonstration. It's a terrific discussion. And again, I'm going to post this up on our website, conservativecommandosradioshow.com, conservativecommandosradioshow.com. By the time this show airs, it will be up there. But it's a great illustration. It's a great example, Sharon. We could not even solve poverty in our own country.
That's right.
Lyndon Baines Johnson declared war on poverty in the 1960s. We have spent trillions of dollars in this war on poverty. We still have poverty in America.
Well, that's because the answer to poverty is not throwing money at it any more than the answer to better education is throwing more money at it. There is a mindset, a philosophy that you have to adopt in order to fight these kinds of issues. We've noted that the philosophy for education is not more money, it's qualified teachers. And it is allowing the school system to have some hand in discipline. That if you let children just run rampant, it's difficult for them to get an education. You need to have discipline in your classroom, and you need to have quality teachers, not necessarily certified teachers, but qualified teachers teaching a curriculum that actually is going to be prosperous for them in the future. So you have to make your curriculum include history and English and reading and writing and arithmetic, not social engineering. Same thing is true for fighting poverty. It has to, as you said, take place at the location where the poverty exists. And it's a philosophy. And the philosophy is the one that was put in our Constitution. When a person is free to determine their own destiny, to work hard and to prosper from the fruit of their labor, they then can eradicate poverty in their own family. And then once it's eradicated there, it just kind of permeates the whole society. When everyone is doing what they can for their own personal prosperity, everyone in the society benefits. And by exporting our Constitution and the ideas of free market capitalism, we actually could eradicate poverty in the world. However, as we've been talking, socialism seems to be the quick way. Everyone thinks, well, if I can get a free handout, it doesn't work.
It's not the quick way, Sharon, because it does not work. Regardless where it has been tried, it has proven to fail, and it's not going to work just because Ocasio-Cortez wants to. Sharon, got to go to a break. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network and around the world on Al Gore's amazing internet. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our first guest, Tyler O'Neill. He's an assistant editor of PJ Media, and we will be discussing an article he wrote, Supreme Court sends high school player Coach Prayer back to trial for round 2. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites. We have a couple of them, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. You'll find the radio version there, and the television version can be seen at ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com. And with that, Sharon, our first guest is with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's always a pleasure for me to be able to introduce Tyler O'Neill, who is assistant editor at PJ Media and a conservative commentator. He has written for numerous publications, including the Christian Post, National Review, the Washington Beacon, the Daily Signal, AEI's Values and Capitalism, and the Colson Center's Breakpoint. He enjoys Indian food, board games, and talking ceaselessly about politics, religion, and culture. Tyler, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks, Sharon, Rick. Glad to be here.
You've written an article that we want to talk about, and it's titled Supreme Court Sends High School Coach Prayer Case Back to Trial for Round 2. This guy's been fired for praying on the field after a game. Talk to us a little bit about, just what precipitated the case in the first place.
Yeah, so here you have one of these very horrendous situations where, thanks to the secular argument of, the hypercharged anti-establishment They believe that almost any expression of religion, especially Christianity, in the public square is a violation of the quote-unquote separation of church and state, really the establishment clause of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which says, Congress shall make no law regarding an establishment of religion, and then, of course, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. They like to focus on the establishment side pretty much to the exclusion of the free exercise side. So here you had a high school coach, actually assistant coach, who would kneel down at the end of a football game and pray to God. And they said that such a prayer would violate the Establishment Clause. So what happened was the school district came after him and said, please stop doing this. It's unprofessional and it's violating the First Amendment. He effectively said no. At first he held back and said, all right, I'll stop for a little while, but I really need a better explanation as to why. And then eventually he returned to it because it's his First Amendment right as he sees it. And they were going to rehire him, and he allowed that to slip. And because they had placed him on administrative leave, he considered that to be firing him. So he brought up a case against the school district. The case was rejected, but he appealed it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, hey, you really need to look at this case again and give him a better hearing so that we can address some of these key issues. And unfortunately, not enough had been worked through to its full conclusion. Not enough evidence had been there for the Supreme Court to weigh the case on the merits. So they said, let's send this back to trial. Let's get some more discovery. Let's have a more full argument about what's really going on.
So they couldn't hear his prayer. They could just see him praying. That's the issue? Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, dear. So if it was only a radio broadcast, he would have been in the clear, huh? It's crazy. When you think about it, this is after a game. This is off the hours that school's in progress. It's even off the hours that the game was in progress. So does that mean that even a private citizen, I mean, I know what they're saying is that he's a representative of the school, and that's why he can't do this. So now we're going to get more discovery, is what you're saying on the case.
Yeah. So there wasn't quite enough for the court to rule on the merits. But, one of the big problems, actually, that the justices mentioned when they sent the case back to trial, this was one of those, the Supreme Court will say, we're not going to hear. It's a denial of certiorari. We're not going to hear the case. And sometimes they actually explain why and delve into it. Most times they just say, nope, that's it. We're not hearing the case. Moving on. In this case, they were like, well, we'd really like to consider this case. We'd like to take it up mainly because the Court of Appeals ruled things that are absurd. Like you said, when it comes to the coaches off the hours, school is not in session. The game has ended. And so one of the arguments here is, well, if the coach can't pray during, when he's off the clock, if he's considered on the clock, then can he go to the bathroom? What would constitute a breach of his duties? How much supervision does he need to give the players? And another argument here is, taken to its logical conclusion, the court's rule in this case would prevent the coach from praying over his lunch, over his meal at lunchtime, because students might be able to see that and then conclude that the school is supporting an establishment of religion. I mean, this is the kind of insanity that's going on with the way that they apply the separation of church and state. Look, we all agree that there should be a separation of church and state in the way that Thomas Jefferson said, in the way that the Establishment Clause means. We don't want the government to be directly funding churches or mosques or Hindu or Sikh temples or yada yada. We don't want that kind of involvement because that would be horrible. But at the same time, we need to allow people to follow the dictates of their own conscience, even when, even in these cases where they're an employee of the school, and even right after a game. I mean, it's clear he isn't applying a religion. And by the way, if you're concerned about this, why not have some Muslim, some Hindu, some Sikh, some Jew, come down and pray with him after it? Why not have more speech as opposed to trying to excise the speech from the situation?
Well, and my understanding of what Jefferson said about the Establishment Clause was that the state wouldn't establish a state religion, so that they wouldn't be required, as in Muslim countries, that you be a Muslim or off with your head, or that you be a Catholic in Catholic countries, that it would be against the Establishment Clauses for the government to establish a religion that everyone had to adhere to. Not the other way around, not that we cannot bring our religious values to bear in the marketplace, or to bear in the school, or to bear in politics. That's part of who we are as a free society. And so you keep kind of hedging around the circuit court, but I'm not going to. I'm going to name, you said they made some nutty decisions. We can expect no less from the Ninth Circuit. That's where this decision was made, right?
Yes. Yeah, and the Ninth Circuit is one of the worst offenders in general, especially on these issues.
So when we talk about the court being willing to take this on now, is this a direct result of Gorsuch and Kavanaugh now being on the court, do you think?
So I'm one of the first to always say that Gorsuch and Kavanaugh being on the court changes things, especially when it comes to Gorsuch. He is one of the strongest, constitutionalist judges that we could have even hoped for. I think he makes Scalia, he's right in line with Scalia, and Trump made an amazing decision for him. But I think that the outcome of this specific case might have been the same, even with Scalia. But of course, you never know. When it comes to how the court would look if Hillary Clinton were president right now, yeah, the answer to your question is absolutely yes, 100%. No way do you get this kind of rebuke to the Ninth Circuit without Gorsuch and Kavanaugh on the court right now as Trump's appointees. And when it comes to, we're crossing our fingers for for the Catholic judge Amy Coney Barrett to end up on the court. I do not wish any ill on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She has been consistently, she's showed up at the court when she's had cancer before. She's stalwart, but she also tends to rule in ways that hurt the Constitution. And if she does decide to step down, I would hope to see Amy Coney Barrett filling her shoes. And we'll see even more of this kind of thing.
Well, with that, we need to go to a break. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. We can also be seen on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We've been talking with our guest, Tyler O'Neill, about the article he wrote, Supreme Court Sends High School Coach Prayer Case Back to Trial for Round 2. We'll be right back after these messages with Rick Trader, and I'm Sharon Engel.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
Together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle. Yes, that's Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And our guest this segment is Tyler O'Neill. He's an assistant editor at PJ Media and a conservative commentator. Tyler, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
We're discussing your article, Supreme Court Sends High School Coach Prayer Case Back to Trial for Round 2. Tyler, I think a lot of people, a lot of conservatives, when they first heard about this, maybe like myself, I kind of thought that this was a loss, that the Supreme Court was rejecting his case, and apparently I was wrong, a lot of other people. And give us your feeling, other than what you wrote here, your feeling about this case's chances with the Supreme Court. Also, you talk about Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito wrote the opinion denying Kennedy's case, and Justices Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh joined in the opinion. Alito made it clear that he did not agree with the Ninth Circuit's decision, but argued the important unresolved factual questions would make it difficult, or not impossible, at this stage to decide the free speech question. So for those who thought this was a loss for Coach Kennedy with the Supreme Court, explain a little bit more why you don't see it as a loss.
Yeah, so I think this is a very qualified win because the Supreme Court decided these issues are really important. We need to weigh in, and it's rare for you to see, like as you mentioned, Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh all speaking about a case that the Supreme Court decided not to actually take.
Right.
This is a rare situation. Most of the time, you get a docket that says court refuses to hear these cases, and then you have a list of all the cases, and it's like you got to do research, figure out which case is which. And this one wasn't just we're not hearing it, but we're going to talk about it. So when it comes to this particular case, the court was not saying no, it's over. The court was saying no, not here, but at another place. And by the way, this is a really big insult to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This is a rather big insult to the district court that they're sending it back to. They're saying, look, guys, you didn't do your due diligence. By the way that you interpreted free speech in this situation was really, really bad on the constitutional level. So we're going to give you a reprimand and say, look, go back and look at this case again. Figure out what's really going on so that if you do as horrible a job as you just did, again, then the Supreme Court will take up this case, and then you're really screwed.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler, do you see this maybe as this Bremerton School District are changing the rules in the middle of the game? Rather than making it a free speech case, and you write in your article here, the Bremerton School District made it clear it had no problem with Coach Kennedy or any coach leaving the field to use the restroom or to talk to someone in the stands. The only thing the high school had a problem with is Coach Kennedy's 15 to 30 second silent prayer by himself, and also the school was saying that by taking this break, it was a dereliction to his duties, more than a free speech issue. So I almost see it as, okay, well, they know they were gotcha'd on the idea of free speech, so they're trying to come up with these crazy ideas like dereliction of duty.
Well, yeah, so the original complaint was twofold. First, it had this, very, very questionable establishment clause, like, you can't pray because you're representing the school kind of crap. The other argument was you're derelicting your duty. You need to be there constantly monitoring and keeping the kids in line. Right. And if you aren't doing that, then you're derelicting your duty. The funny thing is, it's like you said, it's a complete double standard, because they're perfectly fine with him derelicting his duty and going up in the stands or going off to the bathroom. Those aren't derelictions of duty. What is a dereliction of duty is him expressing his First Amendment free speech rights by praying on the field. Now, we've seen in many other cases, and I mean, this is something that is particularly jarring now because of the constant references to religion as you've seen this religious test applied by Democrats over and over again in battles for Trump's judicial nominees, where they'll go down somebody's throat because he's a member of the Knights of Columbus, and the Knights of Columbus opposed marriage equality. The Knights of Columbus opposed a woman's right to choose because they took these stances and because you were a member of them. And by the way, these stances are held by, technically every Catholic in the world holds to these stances. Now, we know that's not really the case, right, but the church holds to that. And millions of Protestants, millions of Muslims, funny how that works, millions of Orthodox Jews hold to these views. And people like Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris are essentially suggesting if you hold to traditional sexual morality, you can't serve as a public servant. That,
Tyler,
is blatantly against the Constitution.
When you talk about the Knights of Columbus, if you want to say anybody who is a member of the Knights of Columbus can't serve, well, that eliminates John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Ted Kennedy, all of who were Knights of Columbus. Tyler,
ironic.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? Tyler O'Neill, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and also the good work at PJ Media.
Yeah, so thanks. Just go to pjmedia.com. We are also on Facebook and Twitter. I'm on Twitter at the handle Tyler, Tyler 2, the number 2, O'Neill, Oneil. That's actually because my initials are TWO, so I like throwing that 2 in there.
Tyler O'Neill, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Yep, my pleasure. Thanks. God bless you too.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. On the other side, we're going to have a spokesman, actually the president and CEO of the Competitive Enterprise Institute, join us to talk about an ad that they try to place on the Today Show, hoping that they would also discuss the other side of global warming. They refused. We'll be right back with that ad.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, And the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, and seen on the AUN television network in California. And Sharon, our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is yours.
It is an honor to introduce Kent Lassman, who's the president and the CEO at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Kent oversees strategy for the free market organization, including management of a team of policy, communications, and fundraising staff. Prior to joining CEI, Kent spent 8 years as vice president of public affairs firm in Washington, D.C., counseling clients on campaign approaches to issues ranging from telecommunications to privacy to biotechnology and state licensure. Kent, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you for having me. It's a great treat.
Well, it's our treat to have you on and to ask you about an ad that you've been running. I was looking at your website. It says, "Meet the Press used to be the gold standard for political debate, not anymore." And really, your ad just kind of promotes that idea that political debate used to be a part of Meet the Press. What happened to them over there?
Well, I can't speak for everyone on staff there. I can only talk about what we've seen through their actions. And in the last month, there's some real disappointment. And it stems from a program. They ran an hour special. They don't typically cover just one subject matter, but on December 30th, Meet the Press host Chuck Todd sat down in front of the camera to welcome everyone. And he said, today we're only doing one issue. We're going to be talking about climate change. And he proceeded to explain how he would not allow on the show, they were banning climate deniers. And he said, the science is settled, even if public opinion is not. And that was the beginning of it all. And
So science is settled. Now, there was a quote on your website from Charles Krauthammer saying, nothing about science is ever settled. Really?
Well, that's it's an unfortunate turn of words for Chuck. That's just not how science works. Science is the process of putting out a hypothesis. You collect data, you test it, you invite others to look at that information. You do that over and over and repeat it, and then you inform your understanding of the world. What he's essentially said, and it played through his actions and the way they selected guests for the program, is we're going to stop collecting information, and we have no interest in listening to people that might challenge our views. And what I mean by playing out through the program is they didn't actually debate science, which is perfectly fine for a public affairs show like that. But they did have on a half a dozen guests who all basically hold the same view, that on matters of policy, we need more government control, higher taxes, and a set of policies that will restrict the use of energy. And when everyone comes on with that same point of view, I think it's a real disservice to the audience and does not uphold the standard that we might expect from Meet the Press.
Well, it sounds like that they have a contract or something with Ocasio-Cortez for her new bill, the new Green Deal. There, are they promoting that bill? Is that what the issue is here? It just sounds like that's what the whole program was about.
I think they have latched on to something about the new representative from New York, which is it's popular and convenient. It gets ratings. It draws attention on the internet. We talk about these fanciful claims. The Green New Deal, unfortunately, there's nothing really in it so far that's green. It's not that new. Most of the ideas are recycled. And nothing about it is a good deal for consumers or citizens who are interested in basic protections for their rights.
Ken, if I could add, I do see something green in that bill. It's all the money it's going to cost the consumer, actually. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, Rick, there might be a second thing that's green in there, and a good deal of it is premised on envy. Green. So turning to wealth that's been created and with envious eyes saying, I can tell you best how to spread this around society. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing so far, and we haven't seen much of substance.
Well, so we have a 60-minute show devoted to climate change and a 30-second advertisement that you're going to pay for on their show, and they're refusing to air it. Why is that?
Well, we can only speculate. To your point, Sharon, we put together an ad to call them to task on this behavior. And I have no animus against Chuck Todd or Meet the Press. I think it's a great show for what it does for its genre. But we presented the ad for their standards review. We got back standard denial. The closest thing that we can guess, based on the information they gave us, is they don't accept ads that could potentially confuse the audience that this is endorsed by Meet the Press. And since we were critiquing Meet the Press, they thought maybe an audience member would get the idea that our views were, in fact, the official views of Meet the Press. I think the more straightforward answer is probably closer to the truth, which is they're not interested in any sort of criticism. So we took that and we ran it online.
And we're going to run it here on Conservative Commandos radio show as well for our listeners and viewers, because it's just an interesting way that the media just continues this bias. And like you said, they have a perfect right to have their bias. Just admit that they're biased. Isn't that kind of where you're at?
I think so. And the irony here, you've just articulated the perfect encapsulation of a liberal progressive hero. There's an American philosopher named John Dewey from the 1920s, and this was the heart of his philosophy. It's okay to be biased in your writing. Just admit it and move on. And today, progressives can no longer admit it.
And even when they're called to task, they're not going to allow others to point that fact out, it seems.
I think that's right. One thing we did is we took the contents of the criticism and we put them in a print ad as well. We ran those print ads in major newspapers last week. And not being able to accept the criticism is not quite the same thing as not seeing the criticism. And so we had a reaction from Chuck Todd and Meet the Press after running those print ads on Tuesday. It wasn't very much time that passed before Thursday night we saw him in a very friendly environment fielding questions about this little controversy from Trevor Noah and the political news satire comedy show, The Daily Show. Now it's Thursday night.
So he was making fun of what you had done. Was that the way to slough this off, and also just let me know how much traffic you're getting on your website to watch this now that you've put it out there. Are people really interested in what you have to say?
Let me start in reverse.
Okay.
Yeah. Of all the work that we've done in the last about 15 months, and I don't know for all time because we were just talking about it this morning in terms of the last year. This has been the most heavily trafficked bit of information and content that we've posted. So it's received quite a bit of traction, and people are interested in it. They're sharing it. They're sending notes and commenting on it, and it's all to the good in that way. As far as the programming at the Daily Show, there was this very warm, soft-lit interview. Chuck Todd was brought out to talk about the role of press in the Free Society. And just at the end, to his credit, Trevor Noah asked the only hard questions that I think Chuck Todd was going to get on this issue. And he asked, why is it that you won't invite, people with different points of view? And the response from Chuck Todd was to scapegoat and to lump everybody who disagrees with this conventional wisdom into one category and say, oh, they're all flat earthers. And we also don't invite on people who don't believe in the moon landing. So he sidestepped that question.
Well, we have to go to a break right now. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AFM 24/7. You can also watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We've been talking with Kent Lassman, who is the president and CEO of the Competitive Enterprise Institute, about the Meet the Press used to be the standard for political debate, but not anymore. They won't debate on climate change. We'll be right back after these short messages with Rick Trader, and I'm Sharon Engel.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty HealthShare. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty HealthShare, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. In addition to our radio and television stations, you could also hear broadcasts of our show on Al Gore's amazing internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, AM/FM 24/7, Leading Edge Radio Network, as well as the AUN Television Network. Our guest this segment is Kent Lassman. He's the president and CEO of the Competitive Enterprise Institute, and we're discussing an ad that they submitted, or they wanted to buy ad time at NBC's Meet the Press, and that ad was turned down. Kent, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time. Kent, when you got the refusal from NBC, did they give you any kind of an explanation as to why they're refusing to sell you airtime to run this ad?
Really, all we got was a short kind of pro forma letter written by their attorney saying that they will not be accepting the ad. And like I said, the best we can read through that letter and guess is they're standing on the leg that is they will not accept any advertisement that could possibly confuse their audience to believe that this was endorsed by Meet the Press.
Well, with that, Kent, what we're going to do is we're going to play the ad here on Conservative Commandos radio show. We're also going to show it on our TV show. And in the old mantra of tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you've told them, tell us a little bit about this ad and what our listeners and viewers are going to see and hear.
Well, the principal takeaway is we want the audience to hear the idea that Meet the Press has really fallen. The idea that they bring people together with divergent views, they allow them to debate, take hard questions, give straight answers, that's no longer the case. And today the case is that you get this sanitized version of a progressive model about what policy should be. And so we said very clearly that they are shutting down the debate here.
All right, with that, here is the ad.
For decades, NBC's Meet the Press was the gold standard for balanced political debate and commentary. Not anymore. Chuck Todd and Meet the Press are banning climate views that are based on real-world scientific data, instead promoting only alarmists who generate fear to push for higher taxes and energy rationing. Americans deserve an open debate on climate change. Chuck Todd and NBC's Meet the Press stop denying the real climate debate.
Well, that was an ad submitted to NBC, the Meet the Press show, by the Competitive Enterprise Institute. And by the way, this ad was turned down. NBC refused to air this. And Kent, what does this say about media bias at NBC, not just at Meet the Press, but at NBC?
Well, I think what it tells us is there's a great deal of fear of the ideas. You know, one doesn't have a lot of confidence if they're unwilling to listen and debate an issue. So you're not confident in your viewpoint. You're not confident that you can win the debate. I have, to give another example, we are routinely pilloried by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island. He puts things out on social media. He goes to the well of the Senate floor, and he complains about CEI. And multiple times, in the most civil of terms, I've asked Mr. Whitehouse, why don't we sit down and talk about these issues? And he's not interested in that. And the inverse of the lack of confidence and the unwillingness to have debate, I think, is also true, which is that the media companies, and perhaps NBC specifically, have learned the lesson that we see play out in different political races, which is that they can play to a base. And if they drive up the numbers of their audience with their base, they're disinterested in the rest of the audience. And that playing to the base as opposed to playing to their mission or to their role as a purveyor of truth and debate, that is better, in this case, better marketing for them or better politics when we see it in the political space. Which is, if I could just add one thing, Rick,
sure.
One of the goals that we had with doing this, I don't know that we're going to change a lot of minds over at NBC. If we do, that is a wonderful side benefit. But it was very important for us, and it drove some of the thinking about how we market these ads and talk about this on social media, that a critical audience is other members of the media. Because I don't think you should get a free pass for narrowing the debate to just the people who agree that we need more government spending, more taxes to pay for that, those programs, and more restrictions on the use of energy. So other media outlets, other bookers and program managers, they need to hear that there is a cost. And right now we put a fairly visible cost on Chuck Todd for his behavior over this issue. And we want all of the other media companies and their employees to see that as well.
You know, Kent, a couple of times you have mentioned restrict the use of energy. And this idea has been tried in different places of the world. For instance, in Germany and in France. In fact, 80% of the homes in rural Germany and France heat the folks heat their homes by burning wood. And, you know, I love a fireplace. Okay, but I think that when you have 80% of the rural population of a large chunk of Europe heating their homes with wood, I believe that would be very dirty. And people, I think, by and large, are going to do what they have to do to heat their homes. And anybody that saw the movie Dr. Zhivago can maybe remember Dr. Zhivago's tearing down the fence to get his home. To get wood to heat his home. People are going to do what they have to do. Do you agree?
I do, and I think you illustrate a really important point. It is the case here in America. It is more visibly the case nearly anywhere else we go in the world. When you put restrictions on the use of energy, you are invariably creating the most harm for the people that are most at risk. So the people that are living on the bubble when it comes to heat, they will turn to wood in the case of Germany, as you were describing. In sub-Saharan Africa, the primary form of heat and power, and I mean power for electric light bulbs, oftentimes across rural areas, is the burning of manure. Right? So there's a trade-off here. We can have electricity provided by modern plants, or we can have heat provided by fuels that produce a high degree of particulate matter. And the trade-off as far as the outputs is carbon dioxide versus particulate. On one hand, it has an effect on the upper atmosphere. On the other hand, it has an effect immediately on the way people live. And by that, I mean their health, their breathing, asthma, and things like that is what we would talk about in the West. When you're in Africa, you're talking about whether children are going to grow and develop properly.
Kent, if you were invited on to Meet the Press with Chuck Todd, how would you argue that this science is not settled?
Well, I'd start with information that's presented by the UN panel on this issue. It's a panel called the IPCC. They report every couple years, And one of the weaknesses, to go back to this idea, when you're not confident in your arguments, you shut down debate or you overstate things. One of the problems we've had from the left is the good, genuine scientific information that is collected and presented is then overblown. So on the left, folks will overplay their hand, and they will say, here's a real situation, but I'm going to tell you it's the worst thing ever in the history of mankind in order to scare you into an alarmist response. And that IPCC set of studies and reports has a great deal of good information about the lack of consensus about climate change. Not the lack of science, not the lack of anything meaningful that people are looking for, but the lack of consensus, which is to say there's a good deal of debate happening in the scientific community about the rate of change in our climate. How fast are things changing? The quality of the models that are used to predict future changes, and the size or overall magnitude of those changes.
Kent Lassman, President and CEO at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, we want to thank you so much for joining us. As I said, we're also going to post this ad up on our websites. We're going to share it on Facebook and on Twitter. But please tell our audience how they could see the ad at your websites and how to follow the work of the Competitive Enterprise Institute.
All of that information is available at our website, which is cei.org. If you were to add a /NBC climate debate, it'll take you straight to the page with the ads and information. I welcome everybody to follow us on Twitter. You get regular updates on publications and events that we're hosting. That's CEIDOT.org.
Ken, one more thing. You mentioned that you had printed this ad in publications. Did any of those publications deny the ad? No. In fact, both publications we took it to ran it last Tuesday, and that's when we also launched the video that had been turned down by NBC. We made that available online at the same time. And I encourage our audience out there, hey, let's fight NBC. Let's share and get this ad around. Ken Lassman, President and CEO of the Competitive Enterprise Institute, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Take care and God bless. Thank you both for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Don't go away. We're going to be speaking with David Harsanyi from the Federalist about the Democratic Party's holy war on Christianity. Don't go away. We will be right back.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Hartman, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right time.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Once again, thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And once again, want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder in Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and seen on the AUN television network in California. Sharon, our next guest is with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's a pleasure to introduce our friend David Harsanyi, who is the senior editor at The Federalist and a nationally syndicated columnist and author of The People Have Spoken, and They Are Wrong, The Case Against Democracy. And his latest book is First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with a Gun. David's work has appeared in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Weekly Standard, National Review, Reason, New York Post, and numerous other publications. He has also appeared on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NPR, ABC World News Tonight, NBC Nightly News, and dozens of radio talk shows across the country. David, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's our pleasure, and we wanted to talk to you about an article that you wrote, The Democratic Party's Holy War on Christian Orthodoxy. In there you quote Senator Dianne Feinstein. She's one of our very favorites out here in Nevada, maybe across the U.S. with conservatives. We're never, though, very surprised at some of the things that she comes up with, but she's really gone kind of over the line here when she was talking with Amy Coney Barrett about being confirmed as a judge to the 7th U.S. Circuit Court. Talk about this whole thing that she says that this dogma lives loudly within. What's this about?
Well, the dogma she's talking about is Catholicism in that case. And as we've seen recently, other senators have approached people who are up for various positions and asked them about their Catholicism in different ways. At one point, senators from Hawaii and California asked a nominee whether, what he thought of his membership to the Knights of Columbus, who were apparently a very, political group. And obviously, my piece is about how this isn't an attack on religion as much as it is a religious war in a way. Liberals view politics as their church, in my opinion. They view their positions on abortion and other issues as dogma itself. So for them, the Knights of Columbus is problematic, not because Catholics can't protect the Constitution if they're judges or whatever. It's because they will undermine progressive policy initiatives, which are like their Bible in a way. So that's basically the core of that piece.
Wow. So this same progressive, this is what you're writing, this same progressive moral dogma that justifies years-long attacks on the livelihood of Christian bakers and florists. It's the same dogma that justifies coercing nuns to pay for the right of birth control. And we see it all the time. Is this the beginning of full-scale persecution of Christians, or do you think it's just their way of kicking back at, we don't like how you think?
Well, I wouldn't say full, persecution is a sort of loaded word. I think that it I don't think it bodes well for Christians in the future, but I don't think we're there yet. Jack Phillips in Colorado, who was the baker there. He won his case in the Supreme Court, so that was a good sign. And I think that we have a lot of judges who do care about religious liberty, and that's important. But in the long run, I think that there have been sort of a hierarchy of values, and religious liberty has been pushed down, and other values have been pushed up. So, supposed discrimination against someone who wants a cake, his rights are now more important with a lot of people in this country than the rights of the baker not to make a cake. So far, I don't think it's been widespread in a way that most Christians have to worry. But I do think it's a problem. And it's not. Listen, when you're in politics, you can change your mind about something, or you can compromise. But when you're a religious Christian or religious anything, there are certain things you can compromise on, and those things become very problematic, especially when you want nuns to buy birth control and so on. So I do think it's going to become more of a problem in the future. Yes.
Well, and you're exactly right about being a Christian. In a lot of ways, it's part of our faith. We don't deny our Savior. That's, you can't deny who you are inside once you've met him. So it really, we've seen around the world people willing to die rather than deny. And I guess that's why we have to ask that question, whether we should be looking forward to the Democrat Party going into more obvious ways of silencing us.
Well, and I come to this from a completely secular point of view. My view is that this country was built on religious freedom. Is one of the most important things the founders could think about for historic reasons and other reasons. It's a natural right for people to practice their faith in peace. And once we start allowing ourselves to diminish their rights, we're going to start allowing ourselves to diminish other people's rights who don't agree with us. It's just not something. I would say my dogma is constitutional, right? So I think that there is no reason to give in there. There is no reason to undermine the faith of people through coercion, government coercion, state coercion. I mean, people tell me, oh, he should just go on and do something else. I mean, you're destroying a man's livelihood over this. It's just ridiculous. So another problem, just to throw it in there about this whole thing, is that, of course, the media represents these stories in a way that is completely, completely misleading. So a lot of folks out there who think they have an opinion on this really don't understand all the circumstances, and that's a problem as well.
Well, it is. You speak to Beto O'Rourke. He's been in our line of vision here. And you say Beto O'Rourke might ask, do the principles of the Constitution still work? Well, what would he say?
I'd say he would say no. The problem there is, of course, that people always, often people will say it's an old document. It doesn't really speak to today, that nature. But the thing is, that document is based on natural rights and natural law. That doesn't change. Our lives change, technology changes, but our basic innate rights don't change. At least I don't believe they change. I don't think the founders thought they would change. So it's like when people say, you don't have a Second Amendment right, they were speaking about muskets. They weren't talking about newer guns. It's like saying that they were only speaking about parchment paper and not the internet. They only want to selectively decide which parts of the Constitution don't work in the modern world. I think they all work pretty well. And obviously some things are less clear than others, but in general, I think they work well. And I do think the modern Democratic Party and the Constitution are completely incompatible in the way they're headed.
Interesting.
Well, speak to us a little bit about the Knights of Columbus. I don't know how they got so political. I always thought of them as a charitable organization.
Well, I'm no expert on them, but from what I know, they are a charitable organization. They're a very helpful organization to the community. They're they're the kind of institution, I think, that a lot of people on the left would like to crowd out, actually, because they want to take over those sorts of things. So Knights of Columbus, the problem, of course, that these senators had with the Knights of Columbus is that they're pro-life from conception till natural death, and that abortion is one of the sort of foundational beliefs of the left now, and so to them that I think is always the main problem. I'm sure there are other things, but I don't know for sure, but they might have opposed gay marriage. I don't know, but I'm sure there are other things. But I think now abortion is the main problem they have with Knights of Columbus.
Well, with that, we need to go to a break. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can see us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We've been talking with our guest, David Harsanyi, about his article, The Democratic Party's Holy War on Christian Orthodoxy. And we'll be right back after this short message with Rick Trader, and I'm Sharon Engel.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving, and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled. It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Our guest this segment is David Harsanyi. He's a senior editor at the Federalist, and he has a new book out, First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun. David, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks for having me.
David, thank you. I wanted to have you on because I was intrigued by your article. You know, the title of it, The Democrat Party's Holy War on Christian Orthodoxy. And David, first I was going to ask you why there is a holy war, but I want to change that to why is Christianity such a threat to the Democrat Party and the left?
Well, I mean, because Orthodox Christianity, there are many different denominations who believe different things. You know, I don't want to say they all agree on all things. Mm-hmm. But you talk about things issues like abortion, which is an incredibly important part of the Democratic Party's, theology that conflicts with the teaching of many Orthodox religions, both evangelical, Catholics, and others. So, and by the way, also Orthodox Jews and Orthodox Muslims as well, though people rarely mention that. Moreover, those people are far more interested in their traditions and long-term beliefs than they are in progressive public policy. So they're not as easily moved to consider transgenderism normal, or they're not so easily moved to say that, anyone should get married. So those cultural issues, which are the core of the Democratic Party, along with identity politics, makes religion a bothersome presence, and that won't change as the party keeps moving left, the Democratic Party.
David, I'm really disturbed about this whole idea of this ridiculous idea of separation from church and state, and I'm bothered by it because history has told us the founding fathers never started a meeting without first holding a prayer, and that many of their meetings were held in churches, and that a founding father like Benjamin Franklin was a member to every church in the city of Philadelphia at the time. And you write in your article that the Senate approved a Ben Sasse resolution that declares that it is unconstitutional to reject nominees because of their membership to the Knights of Columbus. My God, David, I would think the founding fathers must be rolling in their grave to see how this contrived idea of separation of religion or separation from religion is being played today. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's complicated, but I think that the First Amendment says that the government is not going to or should not establish a religion. Learning about the Bible in a public school class is not an establishment of the religion. No one's coercing you to be part of a religion. The government is not, a theocracy. Anyone can serve in it, as we see now these days, and we've seen forever. So I think we've gone overboard in that direction. Now, if someone wants to ask someone questions about the Knights of Columbus, and ask the person, is your membership in that group make you compatible with government? Will you be able to defend the Constitution? Maybe there are religions out there that you can't do that with. I am personally not against asking someone about that. But to simply say, and it's unconstitutional to say, that you can't be part of the government simply because you're part of a group, a religious group, or a religion. So I don't think the founders imagined what's going on at all. And the worst part of that Knights of Columbus kerfuffle was that they misrepresented what that group did to begin with. It was a smearing of that group. They are not a political group, it's simply a religious group. And as Catholics have proven, because they've been on all sides of every debate, they can easily serve in government without undermining the Constitution. The same, I don't think, can be said of progressives. And so for me, that's the problem.
David, also in your article, you referred to Karen Pence. And her right, is it right or wrong for her to be teaching in a Christian school? So it's really getting to far beyond the ridiculous side of how far the left wants to take this attack on anything involving a Christian belief.
Well, listen, a Christian school, whatever church she belongs to, I forget right now, is and finds homosexuality to be a sin. Mm-hmm. That is what they believe. Of course their church is going to believe the same thing. Of course the school that they're in is going to teach that same thing. I went to a yeshiva growing up. That was the same there too. No one has ever said, oh my God, that person's teaching in a Jewish school. So I think that it's just maybe a new generation of journalists, maybe a new generation of politicians that has just sort of removed themselves and don't understand what America was supposed to be about. I don't know why Karen Pence can't teach there, and I don't know why anyone should be surprised of what they're teaching. So, yeah, I mean, it's beyond ridiculous.
It is beyond ridiculous. Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is David Harsanyi. He's a senior editor at The Federalist, and he has a new book out, First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun. David, do you have a copy of that book you could show our audience? There it is. David, by the way, apparently this has a terrific rating on Amazon, that of the customers that have read your book, 94% give it 5 stars, 3% give it 4 stars, so if my math is right, 97% of the readers of this book either give it 4 or 5 stars. I would say you must have hit a mark there, David.
I think the other percent didn't read it.
They must not, or else they couldn't read English, maybe. David, and I bring this up because Christianity is under attack, surely, from the left. The First Amendment is under attack. Also, the Second Amendment is under attack. And I'm sure you could speak about that. It seems to me that anytime anything happens in this country, it's always gun violence, gun violence, gun violence. When is somebody going to bring up the ideas? It's not gun violence, it's criminal violence. It's immorality. That's the problem. Your thoughts?
Well, today, and maybe it's always been this way, people politicize everything. So if something happens, they immediately jump on an issue, their hobby horse, and they move with it. So because of that, I don't think we're ever really moving closer to help solve this gun violence problem that we do have. And incidentally, since the 90s till now, there's been a huge drop in gun violence. A lot of people don't know that. And at the same time, there's been a huge spike in gun ownership. So those things are not related, clearly, and you can notice that in other countries as well. My book, though, is a sort of cultural history of, it's not very political. I try to set out to explain the history of the gun and why we are where we are, why this debate is where it is, why people care about the Second Amendment, why it's important in our history, and why a lot of people don't want to give any more room on that amendment and why it's important to them. So I think without understanding the history, it's the same thing with Christianity or the founding, you can't really engage in a fair debate when you don't know those things.
The debate that we are having in this country over guns, it seems like the left is doing a terrific job of getting their message out. What do conservatives need, or believers in the Second Amendment? What do we have to do to get our side of it out?
It's tough. It's tough to make the argument for guns when children are being shot in a school. And what we need to do, I think, is stay on principle and mention how the right to self-defense in a school, in a bad neighborhood, the people who are most vulnerable need that amendment more than anyone else to defend themselves. I think that is a pretty strong argument in the long run. Sometimes emotions run high and people don't want to listen to that argument, but I think overall that's an incredibly important argument and tangible for a lot of people, especially who live in bad places. So I think when you really ask people, do you think that an American citizen, an individual, should be able to protect himself? Most will say yes. It's just where that line is. So we have to, we have to make that case.
Well, you and Sharon were talking earlier, and you mentioned that muskets are not guns. And the left want to say, well, the Second Amendment was written by our founding fathers because they only had muskets. They used them basically for hunting. So that was the idea of the Constitution. So they want to limit the Constitution there. But when it comes to their ideas, they want to expand the Constitution, like with gay marriage and abortion and whatnot. It seems like they want it both ways. Would you agree with that, David?
Yes. I mean, they want to limit gun rights to a musket, which you can fire once every minute, but yet they demand that abortion be a constitutional right that can never be challenged in any way. It's a ridiculous argument. Also, they're wrong about the Second Amendment because the people who wrote the Constitution already had access to things like the Kentucky rifle, which could shoot 300 yards away, and they knew of other guns that were very powerful. They weren't stupid. They understood technology, and they understood technology would improve, especially on weaponry, but also on the First Amendment. They knew that communications would be better. So, I think it's a very vacuous argument.
David Harsanyi, senior editor at The Federalist, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work, read your articles. Hold up that book, David. Where can they get the book?
Well, they can get the book anywhere books are sold, I hope, Amazon.com, Barnes & Nobles. You can read my work at thefederalist.com. I'm also syndicated in a bunch of newspapers, and you can follow me on Twitter at David Harsanyi.
David, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be back with more right after this break.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty.
Liberty
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Sharon, I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host as usual. Please tell our audience how they could follow what you do when you're not here on Conservative Commandos.
Of course, I have a website, SharonHengel.com, SharonHengel.com, and I also have a documentary out, not on my watch, which is available at GetTrilogy.com, GetTrilogy.com. I'd also like to thank our great guests today. They are what makes Conservative Commandos a show. And our first guest, of course, was Tyler O'Neill, assistant editor at PJ Media, and he talked to us about the school coach prayer case. Our second guest that we'd like to thank is Kent Lassman, who is the president and CEO at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. And we are going to be showing and watching Kent's commercial about NBC and their bias for climate change. And our final guest, David Harsanyi, who is the senior editor at The Federalist. He has his new book out, and we'd recommend it, First Freedom, a Ride Through America's Enduring History with a Gun. And, of course, David had to talk with us about the Democrat Party's holy war on Christian orthodoxy. Great show, Rick.
Well, it is a great show, and as you said, the hallmark of the Conservative Commandos radio show is our guest. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
serious allegations of voter fraud. The claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People who die and fall for the right to vote. It's it's too brutal.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
So President Trump reopened the government on Friday, and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are claiming victory. So this is round one. Who are the winners, Trump or the Democrats? We'll talk about it and we'll let you decide. Also this weekend, Kamala Harris has announced for President of the United States on the Democrat side. And if you like Venezuela, if you like how that country's going, you definitely want to vote for her. Plus, we'll look at the movie Glass. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
All right, folks, I want to thank you for tuning into the show. This is episode 10. We've gotten off to a great start. I'd like to encourage you to subscribe and also check us out on social media. We really like the way things are going, and I really appreciate you tuning in. So let's jump into the show. All right, so for 35 days, the government has been shut down. And on Friday, President Trump said, okay, we're going to open the government. We're going to pay these workers. Even though, in case you haven't followed, there were resolutions and proposals in the House and in the Congress to pay the workers, even during the shutdown, and the Democrats rejected those. So now President Trump has reopened the government for 3 weeks to give these workers a chance to get paid. And here's some of the reaction on both sides of the aisle. First of all, you have Congresswoman Bass, who tweeted this: Speaker Pelosi should give the State of the Union, since she's obviously the one running the country. And that was a typical reaction on the Democrat side. But even on the Republican, on the conservative side, you saw some reactions of shock or disbelief, or just not knowing what the next phase of this negotiation, the showdown is. And here's one from Eric Erickson, who tweeted this: I've been writing for weeks that if Trump caved without a border wall, he'd be giving Pelosi a win and conceding defeat. He'll look weak to his base. The public vote of confidence from supporters right now is not necessarily their private sentiment. And others have expressed this too. And Trump is, again, I've got a theory on what's going on. I've got my take on it. But here's a recent tweet just showing that he's continuing to go to the American people and telling them how bad the crisis is at the border. Check out this new tweet from President Trump that he did yesterday. We are not even into February, and the cost of illegal immigration so far this year is $18 billion. Cost Friday was $603 million. There are at least 25 million illegal aliens, not the 11 million that have been reported for years in our country. So ridiculous. So he's laying it out right there, the cost of illegal immigration. And we've shown on previous shows how border walls absolutely do work. But what's the end game? What's going to happen here? There's a couple things to look at. First of all, I think there is a potential, and hopefully this is what Trump is thinking, and hopefully this is the plan his advisors have him going down, the road he's going down. But there is a big win possibly for Trump if he sticks to his guns. So far, the Democrats have all come out in the past, many of them, saying that they support border walls, that border walls work. Even this past week, Steny Hoyer, the number 2 Democrat in the House, has been favorable to border walls. So there are cracks in the Democrats' base right there of support that he could tap into. Secondly, Trump has already offered concessions during the shutdown. He offered a 3-year extension on DACA. He offered a 3-year extension on temporary protected status. These are some of the things the Democrats wanted in their so-called negotiation. So what I think is happening here is that Trump has set himself up to take his message to the American people. He offered proposals during the shutdown. Now he's reopened government, so if they can get the scheduling worked out, he has a chance to give the State of the Union and take the message to the American people saying, hey, there's only one side that is actually negotiating here, and that's the Republican side. We need the border wall. In comments made shortly after Trump opened the government, Chuck Schumer said, we got what we wanted, and what we've wanted all along is to open the government, and then we will negotiate. Okay, well, so now Trump has opened a 3-week window to show the American people, are the Democrats serious about negotiating? Trump has compromised on DACA. He's compromised on TPS. So now, at the end of this, there's a chance to take the message to the American people saying negotiation is a two-sided approach. You need both sides to give and gain for anything to go forward. And Trump is the only one who's doing that. So after 3 weeks, if the Democrats again refuse to negotiate, he's got more bargaining power. He showed that he's willing to shut down the government. And he has the last resort, which is being able to use executive authority to build the border wall. Now, some senators like Roy Blunt in Missouri and Marco Rubio in Florida have already come out and said they don't want that. No one really wants that approach. But there is no point in addressing immigration reform or border security if you don't have a wall. It's just like a leaking boat that continues to leak. You can bail out the water, but it's still going to sink. There's just no doubt about it. So he has to stand strong. Another interesting, I want to bring up some facts and figures. Someone pointed out, a good friend of mine, that non-essential government employees that have been furloughed 30 days or more in a given year can be let go. They can be fired legally because they're that non-essential. And this shutdown happened to go 35 days, which means that these 800,000 employees can be let go by President Trump if he wanted to. Now, for conservatives that believe that the government is too big, that it's too powerful, that it's too wasteful, this is part of our core belief that we need to trim down the government. Now, if he were to get rid of, just to give you a perspective, give you some numbers, if he were to get rid of all 800,000 at, say, an average of $75,000 a year, and we can adjust those numbers, you can do the math, that would be $60 billion saved just by getting rid of federal employees that have been deemed non-essential. And Trump only wants $5.7 billion for his wall. Now, say that 800,000, say 400,000 of them will deem super non-essential. They really could go. All right, that's $30 billion right there that we could fund for border security, for the wall, and a whole lot of other things just by trimming down the size of the federal government. In fact, out of those 800,000 non-essential, going down to 400,000 super non-essential, all you need is 76,000 super non-essential employees, and you'd get Trump's $5.7 billion. So is there any coincidence that it went 35 days? I don't know. But it just shows you that if we were serious about trimming the size of the federal government, we could get the border wall funded just like that. And I think the other thing that Trump has leverage on, again, I mentioned it several weeks ago, is that the unions, the federal unions that these workers belong to, they are going to put pressure on the Democrats. They do not want to have paychecks withheld again, and that's a good bargaining tool for President Trump.
In the United States Code, citation 10, section 284, it provides that the Secretary of Defense, quote, may provide support for the counter-drug activities or activities to counter transnational organized crime by measures that can include the construction of roads and fences and installation of lighting to block drug smuggling corridors across international boundaries into the United States. This does not require an emergency declaration. It does not require any such finding. It's within the normal statutory authority granted to the Secretary of Defense. Now, that's not going to provide you with a 1,500-mile long wall, because it has to be at corridors that are used for drug smuggling. But those are the same that are used for all smuggling and for all illegal immigration. They're precisely the places that Trump ought to be building a wall. And I do not understand why they are not just proceeding under this emergency power. If Trump were to declare an emergency, that would be a very difficult decision to justify. He would have to say that something that has been a chronic condition for many, many years, maybe for decades, now has become an emergency, even though the actual number of illegal immigrants has dropped due to Trump's other border enforcement measures and the likelihood of no amnesty. I don't know why Trump is not proceeding under this authority. And I want to bring to attention with this video, and if you can forward it to anyone who might help in that endeavor, please do. I think that this is something Trump could go right ahead and do.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Also, I want to touch on Kamala Harris, who announced for president, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of what her platform is. It's nothing remarkable, but it just opens my eyes that people would actually go for this. Take a look at this clip.
I am running to declare once and for all that health care is a fundamental right. And we will deliver that right with Medicare for all.
All right, so there you have it. She's calling for health care for all, but she's not done. Here's another one.
I am running to declare education is a fundamental right. And we will guarantee that right with universal pre-K and debt-free college.
So now she wants education for all. And what's funny is, as she continued in her speech, she said that she would only deal with honesty and integrity and treating people fairly with decency. And that's the part actually beyond her policies, which, again, just take a look at Venezuela with healthcare for all and education for all and wealth redistribution. That's what she wants. And look what you get in Venezuela. But as far as treating people with integrity and decency, ask Brett Kavanaugh how he felt during the Senate confirmation hearings, or Brian Bisher last month, who was questioned by her on his Catholic faith and grilled because he was a member of the Knights of Columbus. That's Kamala Harris. That's the one who says she wants to deal with people honestly and with integrity and decency. But she's just one of many. Here's a quick chart on the people that have announced or looking to announce for president so far on the Democrat side. Let's just go through the list real quick. You've got Julian Castro, former HUD secretary. You've got Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii, a representative. You've got John Delaney, a former rep. You've got businessman Andrew Yang. And then, of course, Kirsten Gillibrand, Elizabeth Warren, and the South Bend mayor from Indiana, who, again, everybody is going to jump into the mix. And it's just a situation where they're offering all the same. No one has anything different than Medicare for all, education for all, redistribution of wealth, socialist policies that are going to drive this economy right down the drain. And that's your choices right there. So now let's get to a lighter note. We're so packed last week that we didn't get a chance to do our Movie Monday. And so I really wanted to talk about it today. And for today on Movie Monday, we're going to look at Glass. All right, so this movie is really interesting because it only received a 36% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but it is so much better than that. If you guys like M. Night Shyamalan movies, you're going to love this one, especially if you followed the series. Now, this is a third part from the movies Unbreakable and Split, and so I really recommend that you see those. And you have to approach the movie in an M. Night Shyamalan kind of manner. Like some people will say, if you're familiar with Christopher Nolan movies, that you have to be ready to think if you want to go into one of those movies. Well, for Shyamalan movies, it's you have to be ready to feel. And he always in his movies touches on things like love and hope and faith and things like that. In this movie in particular, it's about doubt and belief. And when you really let those feelings sink in and see what these characters are going through the course of the movie, it's very powerful. It's just really excellent. Here's a quick clip of the movie.
This is not a cartoon. This is the real world.
No way.
And yet, some of us still don't die with bullets. Some of us can still bend steel.
So we've got a great cast. You know, we've got Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. James McAvoy as the Horde, as you'll find out in the movie, is a split personality, dual personality disorder. And he goes through at least over 20 different characters. And it is just absolutely outstanding. The movie's well shot. And it's thrilling to watch the interactions and see how these people deal with doubt and deal with belief. I'd give it about the audience score is about 77. I say that's about right, maybe about an 82, but I definitely go see it. It's got a really great message of belief, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So that's all for today, folks. I encourage you to please subscribe. Please check out our playlist for past episodes of 13-Minute News Hour in case you missed anything. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-Minute News Hour.
In the United States Code, Citation 10, Section 284. It provides that the Secretary of Defense, quote, may provide support for the counter-drug activities or activities to counter transnational organized crime by measures that can include the construction of roads and fences and installation of lighting to block drug smuggling corridors across international boundaries into the United States. This does not require an emergency declaration. It does not require any such finding. It's within the normal statutory authority granted to the Secretary of Defense. Now, that's not going to provide you with a 1,500-mile long wall, because it has to be at corridors that are used for drug smuggling. But those are the same that are used for all smuggling and for all illegal immigration. They're precisely the places that Trump ought to be building a wall. And I do not understand why they are not just proceeding under this emergency power. If Trump were to declare an emergency, that would be a very difficult decision to justify. He would have to say that something that has been a chronic condition for many, many years, maybe for decades, now has become an emergency, even though the actual number of illegal immigrants has dropped due to Trump's other border enforcement measures and the likelihood of no amnesty. I don't know why Trump is not proceeding under this authority. And I want to bring to attention with this video, and if you can forward it to anyone who might help in that endeavor, please do. I think that this is something Trump could go right ahead and do.
My health care costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to health care or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say,